I'm filming in my 8th grade science teacher's classroom, and she doesn't know that. The school doesn't know that. I'm technically trespassing because I graduated. Also, there might be some background noise because there are some sports teams out there doing their practices, and again, I'm technically not supposed to be here, but we're making do with what we've got. Hey, what's up you guys? It's Lucy. I'm back with another video, and this time I'm here to help you apply to college, specifically to Stanford. Because God knows that application is confusing and complicated and just a whole mess. So if you're anything like me, at this time last year I was hella confused, hella dumbfounded, hella overwhelmed, because this entire process is, in my opinion, just like unnecessarily complicated. How to apply with the Common App, how to apply with the Coalition App, how to apply to the FAFSA, how Donald Trump became our president. Who knows? This is all a very overwhelming process. So I probably watched like 50 of these videos last year just over and over and over again because I didn't know who to go to ask for help. My parents had gone through a very different college process than I had. My mom had gone to college in Argentina where, no tea, no shade, United States, but college is free. And my dad had gone to university pretty late in his life when he was already an adult with a full-time job and 2 kids. So, needless to say, I didn't know how to navigate this process, let alone how to navigate the world of top-tier universities, because let me tell you, girl, this is a whole other world, okay? So, if at all I'm able to help you apply to Stanford with just a little bit less stress, then it'll all be worth it. Now, without further ado, let's get on to my tips and tricks on how to help you apply to Stanford in a healthy way while preserving your mental and physical energy. Tip number 1, don't feel pressure to declare your major as computer science. So I'm using computer science as an example because Stanford is really well known for its computer science program, but this is going to apply for all majors across the board, especially the popular majors. Since Stanford is so well known for its computer science program, it can be really tempting to want to declare that major right from the beginning. So if you think about it, there are going to be thousands and thousands of other students who have backgrounds in tech or app development or computer science who are looking to apply to Stanford under that branch. You, if you have that background, are going to want something to set yourself apart from the rest of them. I'll give you a personal example. When I was applying to Stanford, I was thinking about my interest and my background, and that is in global politics, activism, and human rights. So I was kind of leaning towards a major in international relations, but after I did some more research, I found out that international relations is, I think, the second most popular major there after computer science. I thought about how do I set myself apart from the thousands of other students who are going to apply in international relations. The way I went about this is I chose a more niche and specific major that had less students involved in the program. I went with Latino and Chicano studies, which with my background, it still makes sense. I still have the qualifications to pursue this program, but I'm not going with such an oversaturated major such as international relations. So if you're thinking about different ways to set yourself apart from the rest of the applicant pool, choosing a very specific major could be one of those ways that you set yourself apart and make yourself a unique candidate. Now, all this being said, it is important to know that the part where you declare which major you're intending to pursue is just one very small part of the application. And this leads us into our next tip, number 2. Don't sweat the small stuff. So applying to Stanford or Yale or Harvard or MIT can be pretty daunting and it can feel really high stakes. Even the tiny little parts of the application can feel like they could be make or break. To be completely honest though, I really don't think that there's going to be a component to the application that'll make or break you. Maybe with the exception of the larger essay, but with the small stuff, honestly just be genuine and write what you feel. So I'll give you another example from my experience. When I was applying to the University of Southern California, I got tripped up on one single question that was, what is your favorite snack? Seemingly a simple question, but being in that college application stress mode, I overthought it and I got pretty stressed and I didn't know what to write, even if I did know what my favorite snack was. So I left it blank for a long time and it was like driving me nuts. So eventually, just to fill the space, I wrote Idris Elba as my favorite snack. Because, I mean, come on, he's a snack. So I figured that when the time came, I would change it to something a little more appropriate, like Cheetos or cookies, you know, an actual snack. But I forgot to do that, and I submitted to USC in my application that Idris Elba is my favorite snack. I was mortified. I was like, oh my god, I'm not getting into college. I'm gonna die. There's nothing left for me to live for. But in the end, it worked out. I'm still going to college. I'm still gonna be okay. Even if I wasn't going to college, that's not the only option. You can do other stuff too, but that's an entirely different topic. The point is that these admission counselors know that we're just 18-year-olds who don't know what we're doing. They expect to see mistakes in our applications and don't think that by any means you have to be perfect. No matter how many awards you have, no matter what your GPA is or your test scores are, we are still human and we're still imperfect, and that's okay. That's the reason we're going to college anyway, is to make ourselves better and to learn what we like to do. Tip number 3, be completely and honestly yourself. There is a sea full of hyper-qualified applicants, and no matter what happens, you are still the only person who is qualified to be yourself. Use that. Embrace that. Show your quirks. Tell your personal stories. Don't be afraid to be vulnerable. Don't be afraid to admit that you have a secret giant crush on Idris Elba. So this is a piece of advice that I had heard over and over and over again when I was applying to school, and I didn't actually believe it until I had finished my essay. And that is that someone should be able to pick up your essay off of the floor and know that it's yours without your name on it. I thought, oh, an essay is an essay. It doesn't matter if it's me, it just has to be good. But the truth is that people applying to schools like this, they're gonna be good, but they're not gonna be you. So be you. Tell your story and let that shine through in your application in all the components. Tip number 4, make sure you take breaks in between the application process, because honestly it can be pretty draining on your mental health. I didn't have a laptop or a computer at the time that I was applying to school, so what I had to do was check out a laptop from my school library every time I wanted to work on my application. And even though it was kind of a pain, it ended up working in my favor because I got to sit back every time and think about how I was presenting myself, how I wanted to write my essays, what I wanted to include or not include, and really consider the ways that I have approached these last 4 years of high school. If you find yourself getting drained either physically or mentally, take a break. You have quite a while to finish these applications, so if you're not procrastinating and doing this at a healthy rate, you should be able to build the most impressive and thoughtful application that you can. At the end of the day, it's going to be stressful no matter what, but it's up to you to make this still a fun process. You should be excited to go to college, especially a school like Stanford, and make this application process memorable so that at the end, whether you get in or you don't, you feel that you put in your most genuine self and that you're gonna go to the college that fits your personality the best. Tip number 5, be sure to let people who you don't know very well, like teachers or counselors that you haven't had, make sure to let them read your essays and proofread them, because they're the ones who are going to be able to spot the strengths and the weaknesses more than someone who knows you and, may not want to upset you or compromise your relationship. Now, this was kind of hard for me because some of my essays were incredibly personal and vulnerable, and it was kind of difficult for me to hand that over to someone who I didn't know. But at the end of the day, you don't know the admission counselor, so, take a chance and make sure that you have the best application and you put your best foot forward. Tip number 6 is to turn your weaknesses into strengths. So when I was applying to school, I knew that on my transcript, I had a C and a B, which obviously isn't bad, but I thought that it would hurt my chances of getting into Stanford. I had been away out of the country for an entire academic term. I was taking care of family stuff. There was like a family emergency, so I had to be out of the country. But I took those and I turned it into a positive. I said, because of this, I'm resilient. Because of this, I know that grades aren't the most important thing in the world. I know that the important thing was that I learned from this experience and I grew from it. I don't know any college that is looking to admit a student robot that's perfectly trimmed and groomed. They're looking to admit real humans, real people. And people have flaws. We make mistakes. A 4.0 isn't going to get you into Stanford. What's going to get you in is showing them that you love to learn, you love what you do, and you want to make the world a better place through your learning. Another one of my weaknesses was that I hadn't taken that many AP classes, and I thought that this would hurt my chances because it showed a lack of rigor. But how I changed my route a little bit is I went to my local university, the University of Wisconsin-Milwaukee, and I took classes there because the AP classes that my school offered, I had no interest in taking. I am not a person who's passionate about science, and I didn't want to take AP biology, or I didn't want to take AP chemistry or any of those. I wanted to take classes that interested me. So I went to my counselor and I talked about it, and there's this program called Youth Options in Wisconsin, which is just a dual enrollment program. I believe most, if not all, states have something similar to this. And I was able to take the classes that interested me the most at UW-Milwaukee. I took Global Studies, I took International Relations, I took Comparative Politics, and I took Peace Studies. And then I went to my local community college and I took classes in Arabic. And let me just tell you, that was a 4-hour lecture from 5 to 9 p.m. on Fridays. That was a social buzzkill. But in the end, I love learning Arabic. I'm gonna keep doing it in college, and I'm happy I endured those 4-hour lectures on Friday nights. I think what the admissions officers are looking for in this case is that you take the classes that you love because you love learning, not because you expect the AP curriculum to be the status quo. There is no perfect formula or set of classes that will get you into Stanford, but if you do you, and if you take the classes that you love and keep your passion for learning strong, you're gonna be all right. Tip number 7 is to be organized and keep track of all your deadlines and dates for the application process. So, you don't have to be as extra as I was, but I created this binder here full of deadlines and dates and application components for all the schools to which I was applying. So, I will give you a quick look here. This is college applications. Here I have a list of all the schools that I applied to. Well, some of them. I have Stanford, USC, NYU, the UC schools, Yale, Harvard, Columbia. That's not a complete list. I think that's just what I wrote down. So I have schools like Stanford, and I printed out all the dates and deadlines and things that I had to remember so that I wouldn't miss, application deadlines. Those are very important. You should definitely follow them. Obviously, you don't have to make a whole binder full of them, but I personally am a very unorganized person, so I had to create some sort of platform where I would want to keep looking at all these dates and keep reminding myself. And I did so by having a pretty binder, glitter, and a bunch of colors to help me. And this can look very different from you. This can just mean adding dates to your Google Calendar, or having Post-its, or putting it on your whiteboard. Anything. Or if you're some sort of magical being, you just remember all the dates and deadlines, which, congratulations if you do. Tip number 8. No matter what your passions or hobbies are, they are valid, even if they are kind of off the beaten path. So for example, I'm a beatboxer. I do not look like a beatboxer. I do not sound like I would be a beatboxer, but I am. And I loved writing about that in my college essays. It wasn't Model United Nations, it wasn't Key Club or anything like that, but it makes me happy, and I wrote about it, and I submitted a video with my application of me beatboxing. And I don't know if it helped me or didn't help me, but I'm gonna go with yes. To go off of that, I know people who have had the most bizarre hobbies or passions that they wrote about that aren't necessarily within what you would expect for a typical Stanford student, and they still got in. Don't be focused on following some sort of magical formula to get you in. Just be yourself. And I feel like I keep saying be yourself, but honestly I cannot stress it enough because it's so important. And I feel like even if you get rejected, you'll know that this wasn't the school that fit your personality if you were very honest and genuine in your application. When you're listing all your activities in the Common App, don't be afraid to list the more recent ones at the top if those are the ones that you are the most passionate about. I know I felt pressure to list all of the activities in which I was involved all 4 years of high school, but some of those weren't the ones that made me excited and made me want to learn and made me want to pursue my passions. If you love makeup, awesome, write about makeup. If you love the Kardashians, dope, write about the Kardashians. If you love football, awesome, Stanford has a great football team. Just do what makes you happy and it'll work out for you whether you get in or don't get in. Tip number 9, don't be afraid to reach out to your admission counselor before, during, or after the application process. So after I had already sent in my application to Stanford, I had gotten some updates in my life. Like for example, I had gotten hired at a second job. So I thought it was important to show that to the admissions counselors that I was working 2 jobs, I was going to high school full-time, I was taking a full-time set of classes at UW-Milwaukee, and that I was juggling all that and doing well at it. After that, my a cappella group had done pretty well at our competitions and we won some awards, so I wanted to highlight that too. I was kind of worried that I was sending like too many emails to her and that I might annoy her or discourage her from accepting me, but she seemed really happy every time I emailed her. And after I had gotten accepted, I wrote her a handwritten letter saying thank you and kind of like, you know, just telling her about my life, and she really enjoyed it, and now that letter is hanging up in her office. Don't be afraid to reach out to your admissions counselors no matter where you are in the application process. I'm sure they love hearing from you and love knowing that you're a real person and aren't just interested in getting in, but are also interested in making these connections with them. So for my final tip, number 10, I have enlisted some of my friends who have very kindly offered to send me a short little video with a tip to help you with your application process to Stanford. They are from all over the country, they have all different interests, backgrounds, and I thought it would be really nice to, you know, have a wide variety of experiences to help you with your process.
Hey y'all, so my tip for applying to college is to make sure that you're looking out for your physical health while you're applying. So that means making sure that you don't skip meals, and it means making sure that instead of losing sleep to work on your application, that you're trying to prioritize the time that you're awake instead. Because if you're not physically healthy, you definitely won't be able to mentally work as hard as you need to.
The way I survived the college process was by being completely and honestly myself in all of the essays that I was writing, no matter if I thought it would or wouldn't look good, because for me that was kind of the hardest part, like selling myself in an essay or like giving up a part of myself. But I tried to be as authentic as possible about it, and that really helped me kind of stay sane.
While you're working on your applications, make sure you take time to partake in those hobbies and activities that make you such a great candidate in the first place. Best of luck, and just know that a negative admissions outcome doesn't say anything about who you are as a person.
My biggest advice would be don't compromise who you are in the application process, you know? Be yourself. Represent your actual interests and your passions. They're looking for your authenticity and your passion. And if you do show that, well, the rest will follow.
My best piece of advice is to write your Common App essay first and then find a question that matches it. The questions are made super general for a reason, and that way you can focus on making your essay really unique and creative and something that truly reflects who you are.
So a huge thank you to them for offering to help me with my video. I love them so much. We've only hung out at admit weekend, but we have talked every day for a year, so we're super close and I'm so grateful for them. So to end this, I just want to say if you have any more questions or need any help with your applications, feel free to DM me in any of my social media accounts below. I will be more than happy to help. I will be freaking honored if you ask me any questions or if you ask me for help. Be sure to subscribe to this channel. I'm adding more videos about Stanford, about my life, you know, just general college student stuff. Also, be sure to check out my last video, which was a vlog that I filmed at Stanford's admit weekend, in which you'll get to see a few of my friends too. You'll get to see what the general vibe of Stanford is like and kind of check out the campus. With that being said, thank you for watching. Be sure to follow my social media accounts and I'll see you in the next video.